Starting Monday morning, 15,000 nurses throughout the state from several hospitals will be on strike.
Saturday, there's two healthcare facilities up in Duluth that were bargaining, and then down here in the cities, Children's and the Fairview system were at the table. Unfortunately, they didn't get anywhere.
The latest negotiations come after months of back and forth on new contracts between the Minnesota Nurses Association and 7 hospital groups. Nurses say they want a nearly 30% boost to their economic package over 3 years, but some hospital groups say they've offered 11 to 12% over the same time period.
Actually, 27% from our side came across up in Duluth. So ours kind of officially, not all the hospitals, but potentially stands at 27 right now. Theirs is still at 12.
Paul Omott represents 4 of the 7 hospital groups.
We've indicated a willingness to negotiate reasonable amounts above that, but right now the nurses' position is just unrealistic and unaffordable.
Essentia Health issued a statement after last night's negotiation saying in part, Essentia is disappointed in the M&A focusing its efforts on a strike instead of at the bargaining table, and said we cannot agree on the M&A's request for a 27% wage increase because it's not responsible. While hospitals say replacement staff will be available starting tomorrow morning, nurses are preparing to hit the picket line.
And so our profession is in crisis right now, and this is a do or die situation.
Charmaine Nero, KARE 11 News.
All right. Before I get started, I want to give all glory and praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at GMS. Peace, honor, and respect to you brothers that's out there laboring, edifying, rightly dividing the word, truth and sincerity, and shalom to you believers, all right? As you can see, thousands of Minnesota nurses strike demanding higher wages. And I think it was also due to staff shortage, okay? And probably other various things. But I had another video, and matter of fact, we all know, well, if you don't know, some the railroad workers, okay, could go on strike, all right, by Friday, I believe. And
people often ask me, when's the best time to start?
It could be,
because what I really want to say too, because when you think about it, the nurses and the railroad workers are essential, okay? Because starting with the nurses, they basically do a lot of the day-to-day work, the dirty work. They're the ones that's coming in the room, giving the medicine and things of that nature, doing the blood pressure a lot of times, just the day-to-day if you stay at the hospital, things of that nature. Because my father had cancer, and I used to stay in the hospital with him a lot, okay? And what happens is you'll see the doctor mainly in the morning. They'll hit the floor and make their rounds, okay? And then for the rest of that day, you're going to see nurses, okay? So, especially if it's a senior doctor, things of that nature, the nurses, they take their notes and things, and then they send them to the doctor, so the nurses they need it, man. All right. We need our nurses. You need a nurse, a nurse is essential. All right. And now the railroad, that's essential, because now you're getting into the shipments of goods, products. All right. And I'm going to just play this video, and then I'm going to got a couple precepts, and I'm going to close out.
first in 30 years. A freight rail strike looming closer could begin as soon as Friday morning. About 60,000 workers are set to walk off.
And that's a lot, 60,000 workers, man. All right, that ain't just, hey, that's a big deal. But see, again, Esau system is oppressive. All right, in the scriptures I'm going to go into, because we had laws that, the way the laws were set up to govern us, it would, you wouldn't have to deal with things of this nature. But let me finish the video.
If unions and management fail to come to an agreement in the next day and a half, the consequences from this could be, frankly, economically devastating. Gas prices, which have been drastically falling from their summer peak, could once again skyrocket if trains.
All right, so it can affect gas prices. All right, affect food supply, of course. All right.
Carrying fuel stop moving. Harvested crops could be prevented from reaching food factories, stopping staples from reaching grocery stores. Amtrak is already canceling almost all of its long-distance passenger trains starting tomorrow, as most of their routes run on freight tracks, disrupting travel across parts of the United States, and even your holiday shopping could be at risk. The National Retail Federation saying that the rail strike could prevent stores from stocking up on goods ahead of the holiday rush.
Yep, and you got all these holidays coming up. You know, you got Thanksgiving, Christmas, so hey, hey, it's looking bad if they go on a strike long enough, all right? But let me finish playing it.
Start our coverage today with CNN's Pete Montine, who is tracking the down-to-the-wire negotiations between the unions and rail management companies, and the one detail that both sides cannot seem to agree upon.
It is the latest effort to put the brakes on a possible rail worker strike that could deal a major blow to the economy. Wednesday, bosses representing unions and railroads met with the labor secretary in a last-ditch effort to reach a deal by midnight Thursday. That's when 60,000 workers could walk off the job in solidarity with train engineers fighting for sick time. A strike will mean freight rail, which makes up 40% of all freight in the U.S., will grind.
So 40% of all U.S. freight could stop, just like that. Okay?
To a halt, impacting everything from parts for cars to fertilizer for farming.
Transportation's a big part of the cost to the consumer, and I don't believe there's one person in the country that it won't affect.
Starting Thursday, some railroads will stop accepting shipments of grain, critical to feed livestock and potentially further driving up costs at supermarkets. Rail passengers will be impacted too. Amtrak is canceling all of its long-distance routes outside.
Damn. So as you can see, cancel Amtrak routes. Chicago, Boston, New York, Miami, New Orleans, all the major cities. San Fran, Seattle, LA. Man.
The Northeast Corridor. In Chicago, 9 of 11 commuter lines will stop when a strike begins.
I've been commuting from the suburbs to Chicago now for over 30 years. I can never remember this happening. Could take 2 hours if I'm driving.
And he can't remember this happening is because biblical prophecy is basically have taken effect as far as in these latter days. We're getting closer to the end because it's always been biblical prophecy, always been happening. All right, let me restate that. Biblical prophecy has been ever since the world been made, but right now we're in another stage of biblical prophecy. All right, that's how I put it. We're in the stages of things like this happening. Okay. So as where in time past, we was in one stage of biblical prophecy. Now we're in another stage. So, because you got people that say the Bible days, well, the Bible days has always been. All right.
On train, it's 40 minutes.
With midterm elections on the horizon, the pressure is on the Biden administration to reach a resolution. The president himself has called unions and employers, pushing them to resolve their differences. If a freight rail shutdown does happen, trucking companies say they cannot pick up the slack.
It starts.
All right, and one thing I wanted to get, let me see if I still got that article. All right, because they mentioned like the grain for the animals. All right, and they mentioned the grain for the animals. And hold on.
Very smart.
Solve their differences. If a freight rail shutdown does happen, trucking companies say.
Oh, and the trucks. Slocky. I had a little slip of the mind. So in this article, right, when you scroll down to if railroad workers go on strike, what happens next? All right, it said this summer, millions of chickens nearly starved to death because there wasn't enough trains to deliver grain to feedlots. See, and if that stopped, and we love chicken. All right, everybody love chicken. I mean, they put it on Jake, but everybody love chicken. You know what I'm saying? And that just go across the board right there. You seen cows and things, so the beef, everything. I mean, it's going to everything. So it said this summer, millions of chickens nearly starved to death because there wasn't enough trains to deliver grain to feedlots. The federal government had to get involved to prevent a potential widespread disruption to one of the most basic grocery store staples, and that's what chicken is. All right, chicken is like the main character in a movie. All right. Thousands of Amazon packages were looted from Union Pacific trains in LA, see, possibly due to understaffing. And that was all before any threat of railway workers walking off the job. And as you can see, when you scroll down, it'll tell you like the Association of American Railroads, a freight rail industry group, said a disruption to service would cost more than $2 billion per day. All right. $2 billion. And when you keep going down, it says more than 4,600,000 additional trucks will be needed each day to carry the goods otherwise delivered by rail. The American Trucking Associations, another industry group, said in a letter last week, asking lawmakers to be prepared to intervene. The trucking industry faces a shortage of 80,000 drivers. So the trucking industry, they had, it was talks of them striking in this and not, doing what they needed to do because of various reasons. And they're suffering, 80,000 of them. All right. So, the trucking industry is down. So where are they going to get these additional trucks from when the trucking industry already down? Okay. So, I mean, the government might have to intervene. Who knows? We'll see.
Cannot pick up the slack.
It starts with a very small impact, but it grows geometrically.
The impacts here far and wide, Jake. One more impact that water treatment facilities are warning they might not be able to get chlorine, critical to cleaning water. It is often sent by rail. The interesting byproduct here, Jake, there could be boil water advisories nationwide.
See, and this is what we looking at, okay? This is the trickle down effect. And now, what I was just thinking about was, dealing with Esau, Edom, and the wicked. Maybe they didn't agree to these certain terms so these things can happen. All right, I just thought about it. I'm not saying they did that, but I'm just saying, what if, what if there's like, well, if we do this, X, Y, and Z, the rails will stop. And this will be the trickle down effect. Because the elites, no matter what happens, they're going to have water and food and they're going to be able to get around. All right. The upper echelons of society, they're not going to be dealing with the same things we're dealing with. Okay. Just throwing that out there.
There is a freight rail shutdown. Jake.
All right, Pete Montine, thanks so much. As Pete noted, railroad and union officials were summoned to Washington, D.C. today to meet with the Secretary of Labor, Marty Walsh. This comes as the Biden administration is working overtime to prevent a strike. Let's bring in CNN's MJ Lee, who covers the White House for us. MJ, this meeting's still ongoing after several hours of negotiations. What do we know about where things stand right now?
Yeah, Jake, while President Biden has been spending the day here at the Detroit Auto Show, we know that the White House has been very closely monitoring these ongoing talks, and these talks do appear to still be ongoing. We know that union and railroad officials have been meeting with Marty Walsh, the labor secretary, and that meeting has been ongoing for hours. And in the last hour or so, a White House official giving me an update that those talks are still happening in good faith. Now, the president himself in recent days has also gotten involved, directly picking up the phone and calling some of these parties to try to get them past this impasse. And the goal, of course, is to avert a strike, because White House officials know very well how economically damaging all of this could be. But that having been said, we are told by a White House official that they are still working on contingency plans, including figuring out other methods of potential transportation to get some of these goods moving, and also to try to figure out and isolate what kinds of commodities would be most severely hit. So they are planning for all possibilities, but very much still hoping that something will come to a deal.
MJ, I don't need to tell you this, but the railroads work under a unique labor law, which allows the federal government to intervene to prevent a strike. They can impose temporary regulations while continuing negotiations with the unions. Are you hearing
you
any?
see how the government, they have their laws, legislations. You know, like I said, Esau is very oppressive. What he'll do is he'll have work conditions where it's upsetting to the employee. And then when the employee, stand up for what's right, well, he have laws in place where the employee is defenseless. All right. Meaning when they go on strike, if something happened, they can just impose where they make the workers go back to work. Because I was reading this comment and it says, where was it at? Where was that comment? Oh, right here. It says, I don't understand how they can force us back to work. Last I heard, the last strike lasted a few hours. It's not just about the pay. It's about our quality of life. See? Our new high-vis attendance policy is outrageous and gives me even less time with my family and punish my attendance points just trying to make a doctor appointment. See, after back pay, I see a lot of us leaving still until we see real change. See? Notice how the news is bent. Is not getting a clue on the issues of the worker. It's focused on blaming workers on what could happen. Workers everywhere need a decent wage and time for their life. See, so what is happening is, and that's a great point because, wait, let me keep reading. Mega corporations get enough bailouts and profits. The railroads need to hire more people. The railroad cars also need better security. See, and these is coming from workers. Okay. Maybe the rail company should stop being greedy and pay these people instead of taking all the money for themselves. And see, this is what I mean, because we had laws in place. Let me get to the scriptures real quick, because those were workers. OK, because they were that one particular. But those are the cries of workers. Now, first, what I want to get is because these precepts go perfect with this story. Now, we had laws in place in Israel for this, given to us by Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Leviticus 19:13, thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide thee with all night until the morning. And see, realistically, in our system, you will get paid daily. OK, but that's not happening. All right. In this society, you mainly getting paid weekly or bi-weekly. And see, the thing about it is now you will have under the table jobs mainly, or, you might be an entrepreneur, OK, where you get paid daily. You might cut grass or wash cars or things of that nature. OK, where you get paid daily. All right. But see, that's basically on your own dime. That's basically on your own time and your own grind. But I ain't gonna lie. I have worked for people that pay me daily. You get your cash. They might they might have you do some yard work, or you a barber, or something like that, a tattoo artist, whatever. We shouldn't be getting tattoos, but it just kind of came to mind. But a profession where you get paid daily, all right, versus working for the railroad, or you're a nurse where you get paid, I'm assuming weekly or either bi-weekly. I don't know. I'm assuming weekly. But, you know, you got jobs that pay bi-weekly as well. All right. But right here say, the wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning, meaning people should be getting paid daily. And see, another thing I wanted to bring out is because we all, when you go to Wisdom of Solomon 2, right? Now, this is going into, you know, basically Esau, Edom reasoning with themselves. And we go into this about, you know, how they're going to come, how they use this on Israel. But I just want to use this one scripture for this, you know, because the scriptures is manifold. So Wisdom of Solomon 2, all right, starting at 11. This is Esau, Edom, all right. It says, let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. See? And like, again, you know, like that worker was saying, you know, how they gonna make us get back to work? You know, the last strike lasted a couple hours. And then the other one was saying, let's go back to these comments, because these is workers. You know, notice how the news bent is not getting a clue. I guess it meant to say bent on the news is bent, you know, they you know, kind of got the story twisted, not getting a clue on the issues of the workers. See? All right. Blaming workers on what could happen. Okay. Workers need a decent wage and time for their life. And that's what they're saying. See? And my man, whoever this is, said it's not just about the pay. It's about our quality of life. All right. So, you know, when a worker says, hey, it's not just about the pay, it's about, you know, hey, it's oppressive stuff going on. Because when you work 6-7 days a week, added hours, and they want time with their family, you got people who got kids. Even if you ain't got kids, you need time, you know, to regroup. Everybody deserve a day off, you know. And I don't know what they do on them railroads, but I can imagine it's a pretty, you know, laborious job, certain tasks, even with nurses, man. All right. When you in them hospitals, all right, you dealing with different personalities, things of that nature. All right. And like another point I was going to make was, you know, because basically they're getting paid the same, but they're getting more hours of work, more days, and they're getting more tasks. Okay. So they got a bigger workload for the same pay, and it's not adding up to them. Now, where another one I want to go to, because they could be made to go back to work, which is oppressive, you know, because you think about it, they're standing up for something. But then if the government be like, you better go back to work or you're fired and things of that nature, well, you know, that kind of put them in a rock and a hard place, because like everybody got bills, even if you by yourself, but especially if you got a wife, kids, you know, that's a little bit more grievous for you, you know, versus by yourself. Now, when you by yourself, you don't want to be on the street either, but, you know, that's Esau, Edom using the law, okay, because to him, we are feeble, going back to Wisdom of Solomon 2 and 11, all right? See, to him, we are feeble. So I can give a damn about, you know, your needs and wants and things of that nature. You're going to go to work. So Isaiah 10 and 1, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. See? And that's going into them laws, man. All right.
Word that anyone in the government is considering this.
Yeah, you know, the short answer for now seems to be that Congress is not very interested in intervening. Just take a note of the fact that yesterday, Senator Dick Durbin told our colleague Ali Zazoff on Capitol Hill, he said, I don't think it's likely that we will intervene. What he basically said was that he thinks it is up to the different parties to get to the negotiating table and figure out a deal on their own. And also House Speaker Nancy Pelosi just today telling reporters, I'd rather see the negotiations prevail fail so that Congress doesn't have to act. So all indications right now, at least for the time being, is that there's little appetite on Capitol Hill for them to actually have to intervene. But again, these events are so fluid, these talks are still...
And another point, I don't know how the railroad system work, but you got Biden giving money, 43, 30 billion, 5 billion to Ukraine. Why he can't just take money and invest in the railroad workers? Give that money to those railroad workers, man. All that money he giving over there to Ukraine. All right. And you see this other comment by Bully that said, I looked into the railroad industry a few months ago when career shopping, by all accounts, the conditions were described horrible, overworked, understaffed, underpaid, always on call, etc. See? Tell the corporations to stop increasing their prices so workers can afford basic needs like food. Yep. See? This is Esau Edom system, man.
Ongoing, so we don't...
The word is oppressive for Esau Edom system, man.
Exactly what's going to happen, but just important to emphasize again, there's little appetite on Capitol Hill right now for lawmakers to get involved and intervene.
All right, MJ Lee, thanks so much. The U.S. rail strike could cost the country tens of millions of dollars every day. What is that going to mean for the U.S. economy? CNN's Rahel Solomon joins us now in studio. And Rahel, you just spoke with the top economic analyst who said he briefed Congress today on the potential impacts. What did he have to say?
Yeah, Mark Zandi from Moody's Analytics, who told me within the hour that this would massively complicate things for the Fed, because think about where we're coming from, right? We just had that massive supply shock from the pandemic, which we are still sort of trying to get out from. We had the Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which has still sort of hampered supply chains. And this would be the third supply shock. So this would make the Fed's job, which is already difficult, much harder. In terms of us consumers, it would mean shortages of products, perhaps. Not in the near term necessarily, but as the weeks go on, that's what that would mean in the long term. It would mean perhaps higher inflation as supply is outstripped by demand. Mark Zandi put it to me this way. Look, if this goes on for 2 to 3 weeks or certainly longer, then it becomes a macroeconomic issue. Then I think it starts affecting activity in manufacturing and the agriculture sector and construction, transportation.
So let's pause this. If it goes on for 2 to 3 weeks, or certainly longer, it becomes a micro issue. Then a macroeconomic issue. Then I think it starts affecting activity in manufacturing and AG sector and construction, transportation. So basically, the longer it goes, the more we fucked. All right, excuse my language. That's just common sense. You see this comment and say, take care of your employees, point final. The hours are tough and the job is very dangerous without knowledgeable and trained workers doing it day and day out. I guess they meant day in and day out. Pay them a fair wage and fussing about sick days. All right. This is what happened when bosses don't want to give employees the minimum on what they're asking for regarding working conditions, pay, or benefits. Right, man. All right. Pay them people. Biden, don't force them to go put together a package. Just send out, $10, $15 billion you just gave Ukraine, pay them what they owe, man. You know what I'm saying? Hey, pay them, pay your workers, man. All right, because this is essential. All right, this ain't no, this ain't no little thing, far as, this ain't no guy, that sell clothes or nothing. This is dealing with a lot of things. And you heard they said with the water, because it's delivered by rail, the chlorine, man. So this ain't no joke.
Distribution more broadly, it just becomes...
And that's why I said it made me think if, they was all the time, saying, amongst themselves, the wicked elite, okay, Esau Edom. The wicked elite of Esau Edom, planning for this type of thing I'm just throwing that out there again. I don't know, this could be wrapped up in a couple days, who knows? But I'm just bringing it out.
Mess and that potential impact is why you're hearing from so many stakeholders about the potential impact of this. So it could have an impact to us consumers in terms of shortages of goods, grocery stores. Think about also the automotive industry. It impacts not just the finished products, the cars, but their supplies, their goods, their parts, which they've already been dealing with the supply chain issue. Part of the reason cars are so expensive right now. So it just complicates what's already a pretty complicating and troubling situation.
All right, Rahel Solomon, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Exactly. So that was true. Said they bent on just, saying what the workers ain't doing, but it's true. This will affect things going on the planet. I mean, well, not on the planet, but in the United States. All right, so let me get this scripture and then close out. Because again, like I said, we had laws in place so it wouldn't be no strikes happening in Israel, man. And this is what happened when you get away from what the Lord, wrote and told us to do. Okay. But this all biblical prophecy. The wicked had to rule so we can understand how precious and how great righteousness is. Okay. So by us knowing wicked, without knowing wicked, we wouldn't be true gods. I think I heard Apostle Gabar say that we wouldn't really be gods if we don't understand all facets. If we just knew good, then we would just know one thing. But by us knowing good and evil, okay, we truly can become wise judges. All right. I think I heard, I'm paraphrasing, but I heard Apostle Gabar from GMS talking about that, which is true. Okay. So, Esau, he had to have his rule and do his wickedness. But again, it's oppressive and grievous. So Deuteronomy 24. And when you go to start at verse 14, it says, "Thou shalt not oppress a hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. At his day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be a sin unto thee." All right. So, hey, pay people what they owe, man. You know what I'm saying? That's just the bottom line of it. Let me see. I think it might be one more. Sirach. But that pretty much summed it up right there. That pretty much did it. Ecclesiastes 4:1. "My son, defraud not the poor of his living. Make not the needy eyes to wait long." Okay. See? "My son, defraud not the poor of his living, and make not the needy eyes to wait long. Make not a hungry soul sorrowful, neither provoke a man in his distress. Add not more trouble to an heart that is vexed, and defer not to give him to him that is in need. Reject not the supplication of the afflicted, neither turn away thy face from a poor man. Turn not away thine eye from the needy, and give him none occasion to curse thee. For if he curse thee in the bitterness of his soul, his prayer shall be heard of him that made him." So that's speaking about the Most High, man. All right. And see, going back to, and this is what they're doing, man. That's why the contracts between these railroad workers and these nurses, all right, this is not something that just happened last week. They're not just complaining about what happened last month. No, this is over a period of time. All right. Now, back in Deuteronomy 24 and 14, I'm going to go to 14 again. "Thou shalt not oppress a hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or thy strangers that are in the land, or strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. At his day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and setteth his heart upon it." I got to read it again. "Lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be a sin unto thee." So you got these people crying out, man. That's what these strikes is about. Okay, this is what all the fuss is about. They're crying out, man. All right, and we have laws in place to prevent these type of things, you know, from happening, man. Okay, just pay a person what they owe. If you hire them, look, I'm gonna give you $50. I need you to clean the house for me. You pay them his $50, man, and everything gonna be straight. Okay, you don't hold it overnight. All right. Now, like I said, in this system, it's different. You know, it's different things going on right now where people are not getting paid daily, but you do got people that get paid daily. That's entrepreneurs, and you know they might do tasks for people, or they might just work for somebody that can pay them daily. But when you work in things like railroads and nurses and doctors, and you're not going to be getting paid daily per se. So I just wanted to bring this out. I'm pretty sure I will be bringing these precepts out again for, I don't think the strikes is going to be over and different, not necessarily dealing with nurses and railroads, but it can be just anything. If I go and do some more research, I'm pretty sure it's some other people that's striking in their, in their fields of work. So, Lord willing, this was edifying. To the next lesson. Shalom.